If you're anything like me, your experience of gaming has been walking through game stores and seeing endless rows of covers that are just like some dude overlooking like a gritty landscape, and that's never really been my vibe. I'm not into the whole like gritty power fantasy, the world is so dark. I feel like, you can just go outside for that most of the time. I like my games to be cute, simple, and fun, so this video is gonna be cute games for cute people. For this video, I'm going to be putting an emphasis on games with fun and charming art styles that also have low-stakes gameplay or are just generally pretty easy. You don't have to worry about hitting any major roadblocks or frustrations while playing these games. You can kind of just enjoy them front to back and be in a fun little world. Let's get right into it with our first game, Kirby's Epic Yarn. If you guys have been following the channel, you obviously know I'm a huge Kirby fan. Kirby's actually a series I only discovered after I started collecting, and it's, one of the greatest discoveries of my life. I love Kirby so much. Kirby's Epic Yarn is the game I'm playing currently. It is a game on the Wii, made by Goodfeel, who also made another one of the greatest games of all time, Yoshi's Woolly World. And similarly to that game, but dissimilar from other Kirby games, this is a crafted world, which is another Yoshi game that we're not talking about right now. And the gameplay is all about interacting with these materials in just fun and interesting ways. There are no copy abilities in this. You get like similar stuff. Kirby turns into a bunch of different vehicles, and then also if people throw things at you, like there are different classes of stuff you can pick up. Like if you grab someone's arrow, it becomes like a pointy thing you throw. You can throw bombs, or you can just throw like regular little yarn balls. And speaking of yarn balls, again, like Yoshi's Woolly World, this game is just completely created out of its namesake. And it just has such a fun and cool aesthetic where everyone's just made out of simple lines and shapes. All the enemies are just wonderfully round and charming. Obviously, Kirby is, and all the different, vehicles you turn into. As far as I know, this is the earliest appearance of Car Kirby. It's just, at least it's before Kirby in the Forgotten Lands. And yeah, it's just such a joy to move through this game. It's super hard to die. You can sometimes fall into a pit or, get crushed. But it's cute. And also, you just literally get dragged back 10 feet and lose some coins, or whatever, stars. You really can't lose a level in this game. It's extremely easy. But if you like Kirby, you're not expecting challenge anyways from the series. And yeah, it just has such a fun storybook aesthetic. The opening looks like a storybook and is narrated as such. I love Goodfeel and their games, and this is just another absolute banger by them. Alright, next up, we're going more modern with a game you probably haven't heard of called Billion Road. If you have ever spoken to me in real life, you'll quickly learn, well, not that quickly, but you will eventually learn that two of my least favorite things in this universe are Monopoly and Mario Party. So when I say that I like a game that is a combination of both of them, you'd be right to kind of call me a hypocrite, but also this game does have a monster catching element, so it's also Pokemon, and that's why I like it. The gameplay here is pretty interesting. It's not just like Monopoly, but you are going around and collecting properties, and then there are other spaces that make you gain money or lose money or encounter a monster. And so it's kind of like Mario Party in that way, where there's just you roll dice to do different tasks. There are no mini games though, and I hate the mini games in Mario Party. This is just focused on getting money. You want to become a billionaire. They set up goals, and if you hit the goal, a random square basically on the map, if you get there first, you get a bunch of bonuses, and they do that a couple times. You go through years and try to acquire money. It's very fun. The world in this game is so whimsical. It did get middling reviews, to be honest, 5 out of 10s. But I love it. I think it's awesome. The monster designs are just very noodlecore is what I'd call them. There's a dog with a die for a body. I think that one's my favorite one. He's sick. If I can find a picture on the internet, I'll put that up. Good little creature. And they give you just little powers. It almost also kind of feels like Pokemon Master Trainer. If you ever played that board game, it might genuinely, just because my brain is going oh, Pokemon board game Master Trainer, that might maybe it's not a good analysis, but I feel there are some similarities in how you move around the map and just try to assemble a team, and then you're also doing almost game of life-esque things as you do that. This game's really fun. If you're down for a party game, if you're down for a board game, if you like monster catching, this is such a cute and fun world. I love the monster designs in this. Next up is a game you probably have heard of, A Short Hike. This is a super cozy 3D platformer where you play as a little penguin and you're trying to climb a mountain. It almost has the same philosophy as Celeste as a platformer, where the mountain is kind of a metaphor and you're trying to climb it to, you know, get over stuff. Basically, it doesn't have the same gameplay philosophy as Celeste. This game is very easy. You're not being attacked. This is more of like an adventure game than a platformer in that sense. There isn't any enemies. You can't die from falling. But basically, you run around this mountain and you do little tasks or find little secret areas to gain feathers. Each feather you get lets you jump higher, and eventually all those jumps will let you get to the top of the mountain for you to make a phone call. This whole game also aesthetically is so fun. It looks like a DS 3D game is how I'd put it. Like, it's very kind of pixelated, but it is still like 3D polygons. And it looks a little silly up on a big TV. I still like it a lot, but that is a complaint some people have had, and I get it. But at the same time, I think that's more of you should be playing it on a smaller screen than it should look different. Like, it was made to be kind of a small, compact game. It's also very short. You can probably beat this game in like 1 to 3 hours, depending on how focused you're being. I would say don't be super focused, like explore, because this game isn't huge anyways, and there's a lot of fun stuff to do. And yeah, it's just one of those games that is just such a joy to interact with on like a base level. It's just fun to like hop around, use your gliding motion. You get different tools you can use in the game. Like, if you water plants, they can turn into like these bouncy flowers. You get a pickaxe, you get a shovel, you can fish, which is super fun. Of course, this game's gotta have a fishing mini game like any good game. And yeah, it's just super chill, super relaxing, quick little experience. If you haven't played this game, download it. There's a physical copy, but it's super expensive, and you know, maybe I'd get it for the right price, but pay like $2 to $5 for it. I mean, it's probably worth more than that, but you can probably get it for $2 to $5 pretty commonly and play through it, because it is a super fun little 3D platformer. Next up is a game I've talked about before on this channel, and it is also a super easy platformer, and that is, of course, LocoRoco. I love this game. It is the only PSP game I've ever beaten. I need to beat more, but what a way to start off. This game genuinely might be easier than Kirby's Epic Yarn. There is like no threat to you. There are these little spiky guys that can hurt you. You're like this blob thing, and like you collect little bits to become a bigger blob, and like each time you hit a spiky guy, it takes off a little bit from you. They're very lenient with how they attack you. They're very slow moving. And yeah, LocoRoco is just a very colorful, very flat 2D platformer where instead of controlling your character, you rotate the level to move through it. And the big thing in this game is the music. There's like a bunch of songs that are basically spoken in Simlish, or this game's version of it. They honestly kind of sound like different fake languages, but they're all just basically gibberish. You can play as different characters throughout the game. As you get to new worlds, they're all just different colors, basically. But they all also have their own songs they sing. And like at the end of each level, you split up in all your little bits, and like they all sing in harmony to activate whatever needs to happen. It's very fun. It's very musically based, which is another reason why I like it so much. Yeah, if you haven't played LocoRoco, I would suggest playing it on PSP, because the rotating thing works better when it's also like a screen that you can rotate, but I'm pretty sure it does exist on PS4. Yeah, I assume it's a good enough port. This game's super fun, super easy, and super cute. Definitely play LocoRoco. Next up is kind of the OG cute game, and that's Fantasy Zone. I think I've spoken about this game before. I might not have. I speak about it a lot in my daily life because I'm a normal person. But this is a cute 'em up on the Master System. It was one of Sega's first mascot games, with Opa Opa being one of my favorite Sega mascots in general. It's like a little bird bug ship thing. I'm sure there's a better explanation of what Opa Opa is, but I've never looked it up. This game is kind of hard just because it is like a retro game. You can just get hit and die in one shot, pretty much. As a shoot 'em up, it is interesting in a lot of ways. One of the things it does is that you can move back and forth. You don't just have to go in one direction. And this allows you to like explore the levels. You kind of warp between them by destroying enemy bases. Sometimes a portal will show up to just like a different screen, basically. And you can collect coins from enemies, which you'll need to spend at the shop so you can upgrade your ship. And it's just a very cool gameplay loop I've never really seen in any other shoot 'em up. Yeah, I can't get very far into this game, pretty much like every other shoot 'em up that exists. But this gameplay loop makes it so that I can still spend some time with it and have some fun, even if I'm not really advancing. And obviously, just the design of this world is so fun. Opa Opa is genuinely such a cute and colorful character, and everything in this is just so like imaginative. I really love how the Sega Master System displays color. It's like such a nicer palette than the NES, in my opinion. If you don't have one and you're into retro gaming, I really do suggest keeping an eye out for it. It just looks so nice, and Sega Master System games just have such a special feel to them. Lastly for this video, it's probably going to be a bit of a shorter segment. It's Puyo Pop Fever. I don't have a ton to say about this game because at the end of the day, it is a Puyo Puyo game. They're all kind of very similar, although I will argue this one's a little more unique than most of them. But I love Puyo Puyo. It's my favorite like falling block puzzle game of all time. I just think the gravity makes it a little more malleable than a game like Tetris or something, where you can kind of be a little more lenient with how you place your Puyos as long as you're getting those groups of 3 and setting them up in a decent way. But I think what this game has over other Puyo Puyo games is 2 things. One is it does do some things to switch up the gameplay. Like if you get, I think it's a combo of 3 or more, you go into fever mode, which is basically basically just, it gives you a bunch of combos and you get to kind of destroy your opponent. And, you know, I guess from like a balanced gameplay perspective, that's not that great, but as just like a game that you play and have fun with, it is an exciting element to it that really gives the gameplay like different levels of momentum, which, you know, puzzle games don't always have that. Also, it does the thing that some Puyo Puyo games do, but not all of them do, where you get, you know, either combos of 2, 3, or 4 Puyos, not always just combos of 2. And this does affect how you place them. Sometimes you get a group of 4 and you have to plan around that. But then also just aesthetically, this game is so fun. When you get a combo, it goes into like this 3D mode where you're looking on kind of from like the side, and it's just a very cool use of like switching from 2D to 3D. The music in this game is fun. There's more music tracks than most Puyo Puyo games, and you can just, I don't know, they have this special energy to them. I really like the soundtrack in this game. And then as always, you know, you're just going on this very whimsical adventure. Everyone's like shouting at each other about puzzle games, or people are crying or running around. Just random interactions with NPCs are a highlight of any Puyo Puyo game, and they're pretty great here too. If you like Puyo Puyo and haven't played Puyo Pop Fever, I highly recommend it. It's a great version of the game. With it all being said, like I said, I could easily do a part 2 of this, so leave a like if you want me to do that, subscribe, join the Patreon, we do a ton of stuff on there, and let me know what are some of your favorite cute games of all time. Leave them down in the comments. Thank you for watching.